information they gave me reassured me. Second, I'm a first responder. Being on the Morgan Fire Department for 25 years, we are the jurisdictional responding agency in the event of a crisis, emergency situation that could occur at Guardian. I would like to point out that we have in-depth training annually, semi-annually with Guardian. We get their Tier 2 reports that advises us that there are chemicals on hand. Numerous times we have gone through their facility. They've given us full permission to go top to bottom. We've been in the paint pits, we've been in the paint line, we've been in the stacks, we've been to the areas where there are hazardous materials. We looked at their containment systems, the procedures. We have been trained in these procedures. And I'd like to point out that Guardian is one of the companies that I probably feel less reserved into responding than perhaps other entities in this community. I also contacted Danny Blevins, who is on the local Emergency Planning Commission, Hazardous Materials Team 8 in this area. They have had in-depth SOPs, compliance measures, and training with Guardian. In the last 4 weeks, we had a mass casualty training scenario that took place on the premises of Guardian. Hypothetical scenario that we worked in cooperation with the St. Clair local hospital with Hazmat Aid, the EMS, and numerous children were going to be poisoned, our high school, the kids. None of that came to fruition. And having firsthand experience responding over there on emergency calls, I'm not concerned with those. I've also, as an elected official, I went up to Lytton Road, which is a road, it's a local subdivision adjoining east-west there of Guardian. Spoke to several residents. The ones that I spoke to had no concern at all, nor are they here tonight. In closing, I would like to state that I appreciate Guardian, the corporate citizen that they are, the good community.
Chromium and hydrazine into our air. Both chromium and hydrazine are considered by the Environmental Protection Agency as causing cancer. Human studies have clearly established that inhaling chromium is a human carcinogen resulting in an increased risk of lung cancer. EPA has classified hydrazine as a group B2 probable human carcinogen. Little is known about the safe exposure level for children to these carcinogens. There are 2 and there will soon be 3 schools adjacent to this facility. The children of this community will be exposed to emissions from this plant for 12 years. Setting allowable emission limits for these toxic emissions with mathematical formulas that predict how many cancers to expect per 10,000 or 1 million people gives no comfort. What is being done to monitor other illnesses caused by chronic chromium exposure, such as perforations and ulcerations of the septum, bronchitis, decreased pulmonary function, and pneumonia? I've been hearing for 30 years that the solution to pollution is dilution. This has led to decades of continuing poisoning of our air, water, and soil. The solution to pollution is to stop polluting. This plant has been emitting toxic emissions into the environment for 10 years. The Division of Air Quality and Environmental Protection Cabinet should order soil and water testing in the vicinity of the plant. In addition, blood sampling of nearby residents and children that have attended adjacent schools should be undertaken to monitor levels of exposure and accumulation of toxic substances from this plant. I request the Division of Air Quality to write the strictest permit conditions allowed under the law and regulations to protect the children of Brown County. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Day.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me time to speak on the issues at hand. I am Ronnie Day. I'm the Emergency Management Director of Brown County. I'm speaking on behalf of the Brown County Fiscal Court and also Danny Blevins, which is the LAPC chairman for the county. Danny sends his apologies for not being able to be here, but he's out of town for a conference. He has asked me to report that Guardian does in fact file all our Tier 2 reports accordance with the local LEPC committee, and they do it in a timely fashion. They pay their fees to the state. As Ray touched on just a bit ago, we have had a tremendous response from employees, both past and present, with Guardian and the activities that take place out there. As first responders, we have had numerous calls for different situations that have arisen out there. As Ray said again, we have trained people in this area that are well trained to handle any situation that we would come upon. We do have concerns about Guardian, but we also have concerns about every other building, every other facility that has hazardous materials in it in Morehead-Brown County. That's our job. But we very much so have trained personnel with hazmat aid. We have state-of-the-art equipment that allows us the capability of containing and maintaining an incident. As far as the county plan, they are in the county plan with tab Q7s, and we are required by KRS 39 to require exercises throughout the year in each county.
I guess with all those accolades and presentations, we might as well all go home, but I think I'm going to stay a while. Thank you for holding this hearing, and yes, I am one of the driving people that brought this about. I'm here for two reasons. The first is named Sammy, and the second one is named Delaney. And those are my two children, I think in the presentation that they had, there was a couple things that they admitted. One is the profit that they make in this area. And the second is that with Mr. Turnbull coming down from Michigan, I assume his children go to school in Michigan. Well, mine don't. Mine go hundreds of yards from Guardian. On June 10th, 1999, and then again on July 10th, 2002, I found out what the meaning of life is. Those are the birth dates of my two children. Okay, so my two children mean everything to me and my wife. We outfit them with helmets to ride their bicycles, with elbow pads and knee pads to ride their scooters. We give them flashlights on Halloween. We bury electrical cables at Christmas. We buy big vehicles because the laws of physics don't change in automobile accidents. I would be derelict as a father and also as an industrial safety engineer, industrial hygienist. I'm also a OSHA 10-hour and 30-hour certification instructor. I'm also an EPA Hazardous Materials 165 instructor for a 40-hour asphalt course. I just so happen to live in this town, and my kids go to that school. For the last 4 years, as my children have attended that school, I've wondered what went on behind the doors of Guardian. And I didn't really get a good answer until the first published permit came out in the newspaper that they were seeking this Title V renewal. And as you know, I inquired of the Department of Environmental Protection, and I got a copy of their application. I only have in another year, there'll be another school built. There'll be approximately 1,200 children from kindergarten through 12th grade parked yards away from Guardian. My purpose here is not to keep them from getting a renewal. My purpose is to make sure that they do all the right things when nobody's looking. That's my purpose. And my children are directly impacted by how they do their business. So in a year's time, we're going to have 1,200 kids parked right next to Guardian. You know, OSHA regulates occupational exposures 40 hours per week. EPA regulates environmental issues. But nobody regulates these 1,200 children. So in essence, they're getting an occupational exposure, a 40-hour occupational exposure, the same as at work, every day they go to school. And they're going to have that same exposure for 12 years if they start in kindergarten. I would like to think that Guardian has an open door policy, that one day when I show up, they'll welcome me inside. But I hope they also take the same attitude that these regulatory and compliance issues are minimum standards. They in no way prevent an employer from going above and beyond those minimum standards. They don't prevent an employer from protecting 1,200 children. That's 1,200 children that their systems aren't fully developed. Their immune systems aren't developed. Their respiratory system isn't developed. Their cardiac system isn't developed. Their brain isn't developed. There are all these different biological systems that these children have that aren't yet developed. I want to digress a little bit because that was a very impassioned and passionate presentation, but I believe the record tells a different story, and I'll go into that in a moment. The record tells the story of a company that in its beginning, I believe, rushed into production. Citing a January 22nd, 1999 letter from Byron Davidson to Doug Gesso, Guardian's responsibility to submit unspecified notifications as required by our permit. As with other items currently under review for compliance consideration relating to our existing air permit, we have conducted a thorough review of records maintained at the plant and our corporate office to verify the submittal of the various initial notifications as listed in General Condition 25 of the of the permit. Based on our review efforts and subsequent conversation with yourselves on whether the agency had copy of the subject notifications, it appears that the notifications were inadvertently not filed. January 27, 1999, letter from Byron Davidson and John Hornback regarding the National Emission Standards for Hazardous Air Pollutants, otherwise known as NESHAP, codified in Subpart N of Part 63 of the Code of Federal Regulations. One requirement described in the standard is that the owner or operator shall submit a notification of compliance status each time that affected source becomes subject to the requirement of the subpart. Each notification shall list information described at 63.347 Echo 2. Following review of our permit file and conversation with the DEP's Ashland office, it appears that this initial compliance status notification was inadvertently not prepared. February 9, 1999, letter from Byron Davidson and John Hornback, RE-NESHAP, subpart 63.347. As a result of our recently conducted internal review of records maintained under our operating permit, an unfortunate discovery revealed that compliance status reports as required under 63.347 had inadvertently not been submitted for the second, third, and fourth quarters of 1998. Note, this letter goes on to state Guardian Automotive is committed to striving for total compliance, I think we heard that earlier, with applicable environmental regulations standards and overall protection of the environment. Furthermore, this letter goes on to state, although the facility can attest to operating and maintaining the affected source and monitoring equipment in a manner consistent with good air pollution control practices for the subject reporting period work practice standards as described in the subpart, and not even published in an operation and maintenance plan. So we have these systems being implemented, these scrubbers, these RTOs, these other systems that are supposed to cleanse the air that comes out. But there's no operation and maintenance manual. How do you take care of this thing? When do you oil it? When do you check it? When do you adjust it? When do you calibrate it? How do you check airflows? How do you check velocities? How do you check total pressures? Lastly, this letter goes on to provide a certification statement. Based on information and belief formed after reasonable inquiry, the statements and information in this report are true, accurate, and complete. Doesn't make sense. The record tells a story of a laissez-faire attitude and lack of immediacy in implementing testing and verifying control and compliance verification technology. And when results yielded values above compliance limits, the theory was then to discredit or disavow the sampling method or methodology. That's like getting caught speeding and saying, "Officer, your radar gun isn't working." I'm not speeding, it's your radar gun. March 17, 1999, letter from James A. Riley, Corporate Environmental Coordinator, to Doug Gesto, RE Chrome, MACT standard, draft O&M plan. The facility has made significant progress in correcting non-compliance issues identified in your November 12, 1998 inspection report, as well as identifying and addressing other permit-related issues. From this point forward, we won't dwell on the environmental shortcoming of the past year. Whatever happened in the past happened. Let's not dwell on that. I don't accept that attitude. I don't accept it then. I don't accept it in 2008. I won't accept it for the next 10 years while my kids are in school. Instead, we have implemented written procedures to allow us to maintain compliance on a going forward basis. And we're committed to giving the appropriate environmental attention for all future operational plans. As I recall, the only outstanding non-compliance issue brought out during the inspection was the absence of a copy of the operation and maintenance plan for the chromium electroplating tank. Oops. And associated pollution control equipment. Letter, January 21, 2002. Letter from David Ozawa, Director of Project Development, GE, to Mr. Matt Norton of Guardian, RE, VOC, Volatile Organic Chemical Capture Efficiency Test Program. The results of the VOC capture efficiency determination had extreme variability for each of the 4 capture lines tested. This variability ranged from 81.9% to 41.2%. So if our capture efficiency of things that we're emitting from a process is at 81.9 or 41.2%, what happens to the rest of that? Where's it go? It just doesn't disappear. It goes somewhere. And if it's not evacuated from that space, from that room, from that volume, then it goes out as a fugitive emission. It comes out somewhere. Or else employees take it home. Or a difference of high and low values of 22.4%, 13%, 23.6, and 21.7 for the 4 sets of tests. On variability is the accuracy of each instrument and their influence on the above equation. So now it's an instrument problem. February 5th, 2002. Letter from John E. Mason Jr., Dorenzo and Associates, Mr. David Hill, RE. Technical comments regarding capture efficiency testing at Guardian Automotive Moorhead. The primary purpose for using this traditional mass balance approach. Mass balance. So we're taking masses, okay? But we're not doing any actual sampling of the effluent, the stuff that comes out. We're not sticking a sample tube. We're not taking a sample. We're not sticking bolometers and all other types of devices, torpedo tubes, and grabbing a sample and seeing what is it we actually put out. But we're going to do a mass balance. We're going to say, well, this much mass and this much mass, and if it balances, okay, we're good. But we're not doing any actual sampling. So we don't even know what comes out because the sampling's not done. The primary purpose for using this traditional mass balance approach was to eliminate the intrusion on the workplace from a constructed total temporary enclosure, as well as other economic considerations. Unfortunately, the compliance test method to determine the capture efficiency of the coating lines at the Moorhead facility conducted in October 2001 did not satisfy either approach. With a limited number of test runs performed, nor did the findings of this test conclude non-compliance. March 18, 2002. Letter from David Hill to Ms. Kathleen Boobin? Is that how you pronounce it? Semi-annual air quality permit status report. VOC emissions for July 1, 2001 through December 31, 2001. In the semi-annual report, we provide information regarding compliance with the monthly volatile organic compounds and hazardous air pollutant emissions and performance testing requirements of the permit. We stated that because we did not have confidence in the 3 RTO capture efficiency test results in 2001, we assumed an 85% overall capture destruction efficiency. 85%. What's that leave? 15? What are we doing with 15% of hexavalent chromium or trivalent chromium? Where's that going? In reporting abated emissions values we had done in the previous 2 semi-annual reports. On March 14, we received your inspection report for the semi-annual report described above. You know that no regulations were violated, and we recommend corrective action was not applicable. We further request that we revise our semi-annual report for VOC and HAP emissions utilizing the capture efficiencies reflected in the inconclusive October 2001 performance test. We provide such data below. We want to make it clear, however, that we continue to believe the capture efficiency reflected in the October tests are not accurate. And so the overall control efficiency and the VOC and HAP emissions figures embedded in the data listed below are also not an accurate estimation of VOC and HAP emissions by the plant. By providing this data, we are not waiving any legal rights to challenge KDAQ's interpretation of the plant's compliance with the permit or Kentucky statutes or regulations. The record tells the story of a company that had turnover issues. Who's in charge? Who's qualified to be in charge? I see stuff in the record here that talks about opacity tests that have to be made. And what an opacity test is that there's a sack and you're blowing stuff out of it, and you look at what's coming out of it, and if it opaques what's behind that smoke, fume, mist, gas, if it opaques it, that's an opacity test. And the EPA has smoke schools that you send people to so that they can become certified to do opacity tests. Yet, there are no opacity certified people. And you're running 3 shifts. So what comes out on second shift? What comes out on first shift? I do understand there's one person that was previously employed that had that certification. But what happens when he leaves? How do you check this? What do you know what's coming out on first shift? What do you know what's coming out on second? What do you know what's coming out on third? Do you have a qualified, certified person on all 3 shifts to watch all these things? January 20th, 1999, letter from Byron Davidson to Doug Gesso, R.E. Michael Robbins now responsible, entitled Change from Chemist to Chemist Environmental Coordinator. So here, Michael, you were a chemist yesterday, now you're an environmental coordinator. Well, do you hold a professional engineer's designation? Do you hold a certified safety professional designation? Do you hold a certified industrial hygienist designation? Are you a geologist? Are you an REA? Are you any other of the certifications necessary to be competent in these positions. No, you were a chemist yesterday, now you're in charge of environmental. January 22nd, 1999, letter from Byron Davidson to Doug Gesso. The person who was responsible for submitting these notices is unfortunately no longer with Guardian. February 26, 1999, letter from Byron Davidson to Doug Gesso. R.E. Thomas Barber shall be Guardian Automotive Inc. responsible official. The title of Mr. Barber has changed from industrial engineer to industrial engineer environmental coordinator. Just like that. Boom, you're it. You're in charge of environmental compliance now. You weren't yesterday, but you are today. Good luck with that. September 27, 2001, letter from David Hill to Ms. Kathleen Bobin again. New General Manager. I have signed this certification as new General Manager for Guardian Automotive, Moorhead Plant. An individual who is no longer the responsible official for the Moorhead facility signed the original certification. Corrective actions have been taken to address the deficiencies noted in the certification. The corrective actions were taken to ensure future compliance with all permit requirements. Additional corrective actions as required by the KEP agreed order, which we'll get to later, will be implemented as soon as possible. These additional corrective actions will enable Guardian to meet and or exceed our environmental responsibilities. Everybody wants to meet and or exceed these environmental responsibilities. The question is, do they? And do they do that when nobody's looking? That's the issue. The record tells a story of inaccurate, imprecise, or inconsistency with its data and data collection. February 26, 1999, letter from Byron Davidson to Doug Gesso. RE General Conditions 32 and 29 of Air Permit Foxtrot 96025 VOC Usage and HAP Report for January 1999 and for February 1998 through January 1999. In addition, due to a problem with the transfer of data from the departmental report to the rolling 12-month report, there was an inconsistency for the quantities of VOC usage for the months of November 1997, December 1997, when comparing the two sheets. So here's the fox and the hen house. Here's this sheet. Oops, it's inconsistent with this sheet. Oops. Well, which one is right? Which one's accurate? Which one's precise? Who knows? January 21, 2003, inspection report. In that report, it was noted fluctuations in pitot testing values and representations entered the area of the high-gloss flash tunnel to record exit air flow and found an access door open to the flash tunnel and a large amount of paint mist from the tunnel creating a fog in that area of the facility. This was from an inspector from EPA. Mr. Lukey spoke with an employee at the time at the access door. Representatives left the area. Apparently, the employee was making an adjustment to the line. I've never been there. I don't know what this is. But here's a guy goes and opens a door to something that's supposed to be, I guess, totally enclosed. And oops, forgets to close the door. So whatever's in there just comes wafting out. Where does that go? January 23rd, 2003, inspection report. Pressure differential was again recorded at the vestibule entrances by Mr. Lukey with a portable monitor this time. Pressure drop at the prime booth north entrance was 0.0115. This entrance was 0.007 during the previous day's testing. We got a lot of variability there. Yes, it's significant digits, it's a small number, but it's still quite a big variable. In fact, it's twice. Mr. Lukey stated that the main reason for the difference was probably his test method. Heck, I don't know what I'm doing either. It's my test method. Okay? He was holding the doors open to keep from pinching the hose on his portable monitor. 24 years ago when I started out in this business, I didn't even make that mistake. The record tells a story of repeated and chronic EPA compliance inspection, citation, and assessed and paid penalties. September 27, 2001. Letter from David Hill to Ms. Kathleen Bobin.
RE Air Quality Compliance Certification Form. Guardian Automotive Moorhead Plan is submitting this revised air quality compliance certification form. DEP 7007 Charlie Charlie is required by KDEP agreed order DAQ 01049 and a notices of violation issued by your department earlier this year. Notices of violation. The revised certificate is being submitted to correct deficiencies in the original certification submitted earlier this year. October 18 to 20, 2001, notice of violation. Description of violation. Number 1, facility failed to comply with terms and conditions of the permit. 2, facility failed to demonstrate compliance as required by best available control technology and general provisions of 401 KAR 52.020. But now wait a minute. We have all these other letters that say, man, we're going to do we want total compliance. We're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. That's our goal, total compliance. I just want to know what's the truth. As a father of 2 kids, I want to know what's the truth. December 2001, there was an agreed order. January 17, 2002, inspection report by Ms. Kathleen Buick, compliance testing. Regenerative thermal oxidizers, which are your RTOs. Guardian Automotive Inc. was required by permit to conduct performance tests. Hey, how's this thing working? To determine the overall destruction and capture efficiencies for VOCs, volatile organic chemicals. Facility demonstrated an average destruction efficiency of 95.2 for the RTOs within permit time requirements. However, facility failed to demonstrate a minimum of 85% overall efficiency to comply with best available control technology. So now we're not even capturing 85% of this stuff. Where's it going? I'm sorry. So where's it going? And is this the best available control technology? 85%? So if you're going to put 15% hexavalent chromium, which I'll get to in a minute, out into the atmosphere, that's not good enough. May. I'm sorry. Facility is currently in enforcement for these issues. So there was an enforcement action. Facility was required by permit to perform daily qualitative observation of the visible emissions. Aha! Opacity test. Well, gee, we really don't have a guy that knows how to do that. And if we do, he's not working second and third shift. So how do we verify what's coming out? We don't even have a guy or a gal there that knows what they're doing. Facility was required by permit to perform daily qualitative observation of the visible emissions from the RTOs when the units are in operation. Although requested by the Kentucky Department of Air Quality, 12-month rolling emissions data was not provided by facility due to enforcement issues. Hey, you guys are taking enforcement action. We're not going to give you this stuff.